for the...
Isn't that kind of challenging to do? Just to lift your foot up?
To lift your foot up and then move yourself standing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of that stuff was really good for me.
So maybe we'll play with that a little bit too and touch back upon that.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start in a child's pose position.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of just lead us like we're going through a class. So neat.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm thanking you. And I would adjust since it's just YouTube, but since it's quarantine, I'll wait until hands off for now. So taking a moment just to settle into the body. And we'll bring awareness to the breath. And the diaphragm is this muscle that sits right underneath the rib cage. And every time you take an inhalation, the diaphragm gently presses down and the lateral ribs move nice and wide. So we start to feel the width of the body with the breath. As you inhale, the diaphragm moves down, the lower ribs and lower lungs expand outward. And as you exhale, the pelvic floor lifts up, pressing the air out of the low lungs, softening the ribs back down, and the air exits out through the mouth or through the nose. So as you breathe here, just visualize a diaphragm, a dome shape pressing down, and the ribs moving out nice and wide. As you exhale the breath, the belly draws in slightly, and you press the air out of the lungs. We'll be here for about 5 cycles of breath, slow and sweet without any force, but using your visualization And visualization has a natural calming effect it brings to the mind. It puts the mind to work. You'll walk your hands over to the right hand side. Bring the left palm to rest on top of the right. That left hip will reach back slightly, giving you a bit more space through the outer pelvis and into the length of the left side body. The low rib of the left hand side spreads out as you draw the breath in and softens back in as you exhale the breath back out. Visualize that rib, that lung expanding out wide for 2 more cycles and softening back down. One more full, sweet round of breath as you reacquaint yourself with your body. And then walking the hands over to the opposite side. Inhale, flaring out through the lower right rib, right lung. Exhale, softening the lower rib, the lower lung, back down. You're expanding from the reach of the right sit bone, not from force, but from the breath. Let's find one more cycle. Then walk your hands back to a child's pose. Press down through the palms of the hands. Glide the upper shoulders down the back. Now feed the breath to spread the upper back nice and wide. Take a full breath in. And a full breath out. Pressing into the palms of the hands, come up to a tabletop position. Drawing the knees underneath the hips or keeping them a little wider. Find what feels good in your body. And we'll move through some gentle cat-cows. And as you move through these gentle cat-cows, you want to keep that visualization of the inhale, the ribs flare out, the diaphragm draws down. So we're working the muscle of the diaphragm every time we inhale. We're working the expansion of the rib cage and the lungs every time we inhale. On every exhale, we find some more mobility through the hips, pelvis, and low psoas, which connects to our diaphragm, bringing a natural loosening and fluidity to our spine. We'll find neutral tabletop. Reach the right leg behind you. Press down evenly through the palms of the hands. Take a wide breath into the width of the lungs, the width of the ribs, and step the right foot forward to a low lunge. Before you lift your arms up, think about the tailbone heavying, the thigh bones drawing back, and then the inhale breath will lift the arms up to the sky. Find grounding through the sole of your right foot and maybe the shin of the left, the top of the left foot. Now lean the pelvis forward and the shoulder blades back. Open up through the chest with an inhale, flaring out through the lower ribs and settling into your body on the exhale. You'll bring your fingers to frame the front foot and straighten through the front leg. And we'll begin to surf out this shape, moving from a low lunge back to a half Hanuman. Low lunge. Very slow and back to a Hanuman. So really acquaint yourself of where that stickiness occurs in your own body, where you're grabbing on. You may want to linger in that place and draw breath into it. We'll hold the right leg straight when you're ready. Unweighting the ball of the right foot, drawing the toes up to the sky, and again being gentle with yourself. Breath goes wide into the rib cage. Keep pulling that oxygen in. Exhale out. Low lunge. Bring your hands to plant. Curl the back toes underneath you. And rise up to a low lunge just for a moment. Back leg lifts, crown of the head reaches forward. Hug in through the right inner leg line and just breathe here. The bones are stacking from ankle joint to knee, and then horizontal, the thigh bone from knee to hip. Pressing into the hands, the front leg meets the back for high plank. Very slowly lower both knees down to the earth. Hug the elbows in, drop the shoulders wide, and lower all the way down to the belly. Curl the toes underneath you, the top of the thighs ground down. It's an inhale breath, lifts you up to cobra. Now less about the neck lift and think about more length from the tailbone to the sacrum. So you're pressing the front of the body into the mat where your tailbone, in between your tailbone and belly button, and you're lifting the back of the body up to stretch wide. Lower down. We'll find 3 more breaths at your pace. Inhale, tailbone lengthens. Front of the psoas begin to open up. Hip flexors open up and back down. Beautifully done. One more round of breath. You'll press into the palms of the hands. The hips will glide back to the heels for a child's pose. One breath in your child's pose to reconnect to the flaring and the width of the ribs, the dropping down and the retracting back up of the diaphragm. Coming to a tabletop, the left leg will extend back. Step it forward to low lunge. Front of the hips lengthen. Rise up to a crescent moon. Back to a low lunge. Bend and straighten through the left leg. So we'll surf out coming into that Hanuman. And the slower you go, the more you feel. So any stickiness, any adhesions, take a moment to linger, to breathe. It's the only way that we open up that area is when we become aware of it. We'll hold the left leg straight. Unweight the left toes, the ball of the foot. And feed your breath in towards your sensation. Low lunge. Curl the back toes underneath you and straighten through the back leg. With the reach of the heel comes the reach of the front of the right side body. So the psoas is that deep muscle that lays behind all your layers of core muscles, your transverse and obliques. That's what we're stretching into. High plank. Lower the knees down, come all the way down. Cobra pose. So less neck, elongate your neck. The back of the shoulders, the back of the arms. Think about a sling drawing that whole rib cage back. Now use your breath for the buoyancy. Wide into the ribs and release down. 2 more breaths without clenching. Think about elongating. Very nice, Michelle. And release down. 1 more round. Lower yourself down, bringing the chest down to the mat. Curl the toes under. Press into a child's pose. Notice if there's a little bit more ease through the folds of your hips. If you've created a bit more space through the low back and the front of the belly. Tabletop. Downward facing dog. So we all go through our habits of downward facing dog, what feels good to you. So allow yourself to go through that pattern of movement. Maybe it's pedaling out, walking the dog, swaying the hips. And then we'll come to a still downward facing dog in about 2 to 3 more breaths. No rush to get there. So So we traction the spine nice and long by the levers of the arms and the legs. So the levers of the arms, the pillars of the arms, the pillars of the legs lift the sit bones up. There's equal effort between the lower body and the upper body. You're going to slowly walk the toes to meet the hands, bending the knees as deeply as you need and allowing the torso to cascade out of the hips. Take the hands, interlace them at the low back. Soften the ribs down to the thighs. As you soften the ribs down, the lungs, ribs move nice and wide with that inhale. The exhale grounds you through the soles of your feet. It may feel nice to lift the palms of the hands up towards the sun. Release the hands down. And then very slowly, rooting down through the feet, begin to rise up tall through the body. We'll stand very well on our feet, so all 26 bones are holding us stable. The crown of the head reaches up, the shoulders soften down and back. Arms extend up to the sky mountain pose. Interlace the fingers. Side body stretch up and over to the right hand side. Flare out through the left lower rib with the inhale breath. Hold with the exhale breath. Come back through center. Side body stretch up and over to the left. Inhale, flare out through the right rib, low and deep with that breath. Exhale, stabilize. The inhale, right lung lifts you back up to center. Hands come to the low back, interlace. Soft bend through the knees, chest lifts. Forward fold with the chest expansion. Soften the toes. Soften the crown of the head and the space between the eyebrows. Release the hands down, bring them to the top of the shin. Find a halfway lift. Hold either on the shin or the top of the thighs. The hands go. You're going to press the thigh bones back as you extend the spine forward. Now come back to that action of breath. Wide with the ribs, diaphragm presses down, stimulating the organs. Diaphragm lifts back up, organs compress up, getting that nice massage, and back down. So benefits to the front of the body as well as strengthening the back side of the body. 2 more breaths. Elongate the back of your neck slightly. So one. Okay, you okay with me touching you? Mm-hmm. Okay, lengthen here. Even more, even more, even more. And release is a forward fold. Hands plant, feet either step back, hop back very slowly. Chaturanga or cobra. And downward facing dog is where we'll meet. It's a breath in and a breath out. The right leg lifts. The right leg steps forward to a low lunge. Lower the left knee down to the earth for crescent moon. Glide the hips forward. And press off with the right foot to glide the hips back. So the reach of the arms keeps the spine nice and tall. We start to fill into the inner leg line. As we straighten through that front leg, we have to engage through our center midline. The It's where we gain that stability without using our arms. Hold. Crescent moon. Curl the back toes underneath you. Lift through the fingers and rise up to a high crescent. Very nice. Now little micro adjustments in your high crescent. And where's the breath? So bringing lightness and joy into that practice. Reconnecting with your breath. Crescent moon. Slowly descending the left knee down. Bring the hands down to the mat. High plank. And your vinyasa through. Nice, Desiree. We'll take 3 breaths here. The function of the diaphragm is where we're placing our attention. Expanding out wide, taking up as much space as we can. Internally, the left leg reaches back, 3-legged dog. Step it forward to low lunge. Lower the right knee down to crescent moon. Reach the arms up. Spread the shoulders wide. Melt any tension away from the upper neck and the shelf of the shoulders with the breath. Inhale and exhale. The back toes curl under. You feel light through the lower body as you lift up to a high crescent. Reconnect with your breath. From high crescent, lower the right knee back down very slowly, getting that opening and that support through that right psoas. Hands plant, back foot steps, front foot steps back to your vinyasa. It's hard for me not to want to deepen you ladies into it. Maybe by next week we'll feel more comfortable. Folds of the hips. How can they feel light and lifted from the poles of the arms and the legs? Breathe the right leg high. Step it forward to low lunge. Slowly lower left knee down to the earth. Rise up through crescent moon. Slide the hips back and we're going to lift the front foot. Desiree, here we go. Lifting the front foot off of the mat. And then press it back down. Glide the hips back forward. You're going to practice at your own pace. You might not get the foot lifted off the mat. It might just be the heel or maybe the toe. But we're working on that instability. Discovering where we're unstable so we know which muscles and which parts of the body need to be strengthened or turned on. We'll plant down through the right foot. Come into a crescent moon. Rise up to a high crescent, light through the legs, and open up to a warrior 2. Come back to the low lungs, low ribs. Inhale reaches the fingertips apart as the low ribs spread wide. Exhale, the ribs settle and soften back down. Diaphragm lifts, organs lift. Getting that massage. 2 more rounds of breath. So each posture can bring so much benefit into the body-mind if we're aware of what the intricacies of the body are doing as we hold shape. Reverse your warrior. Lower right rib cage lifts on the inhale, settles and softens back down on the exhale. As you do this, the diaphragm lowers and lifts, massaging the kidney in the back side of the body. That's where our adrenals are. That's where we can produce adrenaline, stress, tension, so we soften down and relax that area. Low lunge, high plank, your vinyasa through. Downward facing dog is where we'll meet for 3 breaths. How is the pace? Is it okay? Left leg lifts. Step forward to a low lunge. Slowly lower the right knee down to the earth and rise up to crescent moon with the breath. So that brings that lightness and buoyancy to the upper body. High, pause. Glide the hips back and lift the left foot off of the mat. You'll practice that for 5 breaths, taking your time. We'll come to meet in crescent moon when you feel like you're balanced from one side to the other. Curl the back toes underneath you. That inhale brings lightness, rising up to a high crescent. Very nice transition, smooth and fluid. Open up to a warrior 2. 3 deep breaths. So on the left side body, as the ribs expand out, you not only have your kidneys in the back, you have your spleen, your pancreas, your stomach, and your heart up above the diaphragm. So as you spread that wide, it gives space, space, space. The contraction massages in. 2 more rounds of breath. Reverse warrior. Provide yourself with that space. Low lunge. High plank. Your vinyasa through. Downward facing dog. The right leg reaches high. Step it forward to low lunge. Slowly lower the left knee down to the earth. Glide the hips back, crescent moon. Draw the hips back, lift the front foot off of the mat. Place it back down. Now we're going to take a giant step forward. As you lift that right leg up, you're going to press down and then stand up into a single leg Tadasana. Take the hands right below the knee, draw the knee in towards the chest. Send the breath into the fold of the hip. Mountain pose, left leg meets the right. Interlace the fingers, side body stretch up and over to the right hand side. Come back through center. Side body stretch up and over. Really expand out with the rib. Come back through center, keep the arms interlaced. Round through the upper back, draw the left knee back up towards the chest, taking a hold right underneath the knee. So now the hands hold on to the knee or underneath the thigh, draw it up to the chest. Slow and steady through airplane, you'll glide the left leg behind you and step it back to a pyramid pose. So maybe halfway, lift up tall, find your pyramid, find the pillars of your legs without locking out through the knees. And then soften down into your pyramid. Keep that breath flowing. You'll bring a slight bend into the right knee. Bring the hands to the inside of the right leg. Triangle pose. You're going to find a degree in the back foot that feels good for you in order to open up through the left hip. If you'd like to grab your block here, you can grab your block. So we want to release any strain we may be creating and really turn the volume up on the breath. How are you massaging the heart? How are you massaging the spleen, the pancreas, the stomach, the digestive system? Reach up with the left fingertips. Come all the way up to star. Point both toes forward. A nice gentle pressure through the outer edges of the feet. Hinge forward at the hips for a wide-legged forward fold. Bringing the right palm to rest on top of the left, bending your knees as much as you need. And you're going to rest the palms, the forehead on the palms of the hands. So you may want to narrow in your feet. You may want to take them a little wider. We're going to attempt to bring the crown of the head to rest on the palms of the hands. This just gives the feedback to the body, the mind. That we can bring gentle pressure onto the crown of the head, stimulating all the meridian points that lie on top of the skull. And weighting the brain and keeping that breath moving as you nourish it with oxygen and nutrients. One more cycle of breath. Releasing the crown of the head, bringing the fingertips to ground. Nice long spine. Pressure through the outer hips. Flat back brings you up to star. Warrior two to the front of your space. Reverse triangle. Front leg straightens. Arms reach back. Glide the hips forward slightly. And then lean the weight back of the upper body. Very nice. Take the right hand behind the nape of the neck. Lift up with the right elbow. Option to bring the left hand to the low back to soften down through the tailbone. Find a bit more length underneath the armpit on the right hand side. The hands will release, coming to a low lunge. You'll pivot on the ball of the back foot. And you'll take it through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Left leg extends behind you. Step forward to a low lunge. Lower down to crescent moon. Rise up with the arms. Glide the hips back. Lift the front foot off of the mat. And set it back down. This round we'll lift the left leg up, set it down, step firmly on the left foot. Come to standing single leg Tadasana. Hands interlace either behind the thigh or in front of the knee. Right leg releases down, both feet press firmly into the mat. Rise up mountain, interlace the fingers. Flip the palms up to the sky. Energetically pull the arms apart, the palms apart. Notice how that brings space underneath the armpit. Side body stretch up and over to the right. Come back through center. Side body stretch over to the left. Come back through center. Keeping the hands interlaced, the right knee lifts back up, single leg Tadasana. And a nice gliding, you can bring the hands in front of the knee, draw it in slightly, or begin to make your way in to your airplane to pyramid. When you feel your feet landed, find a lifted spine and then soften your way down and in. Check in with the upper jaw and upper neck. Send that attention to the base of the rib cage and continue to work through the muscle of the diaphragm. It takes a lot of effort to voluntarily draw that air in and alleviate it out. Triangle pose. You'll find a degree with that back foot that feels good for you, where you feel stable through both legs. And from the stability of those pillars beneath you, you revolve up and around. Now, if the gaze and the turn of the neck is causing strain to the back of the skull, then look down or straight ahead. Reaching through the right fingertips, lifting up through the right lung as you inhale, come up to star. Find a width of the feet that feels good. Bend deeply through the knees, forward fold, bringing the opposite palm on top. The crown of the head will rest on top of the palms of the hands. So this pose is wonderful if you're feeling anxious, worried. It brings immediate effects. Release. Bringing the fingers down, finding a halfway lift. Using your legs, lifting the spine up. Warrior 2 to the front of your space. Nice, Desiree. Reverse warrior. Reverse triangle, straighten through the left leg. Expansion, take up space internally. Contraction, soften in. Low lunge. High plank. Vinyasa through. The right leg will reach behind you. Step it out to the outside of your right pinky. Lower the left knee down to the earth. Bring the left hand down in front of the chest, and you're going to take the right hand and very slowly begin to pry open that right thigh. So give yourself some feedback by giving yourself some tactile touch. And how can the breath draw you deeper into the sensation? You'll toe heel the right foot all the way around for a pigeon pose. We're going to keep our chest lifted in a high pigeon to begin with. So as the shoulder blades come towards the spine, the chest is going to lift. We have the flaring up of the low ribs, low lungs, and that keeps us from sinking down. If you'd like to take it into full pigeon, upper body releases down. We'll be here for about 5 breaths. Begin to walk the hands back. You're going to shift the weight onto the right sit bone, bringing the left leg around for us. Keep the left leg straight. So we're just going to come to a, sorry, that wasn't very clear. Let me show you. So just pigeon, we're going to come onto the right hip. Extend the left leg long, ground down through both sit bones. You can take your hand to the inside or the outside of that leg. We're going to find a nice side body lean over to the left hand side. Now flare out through the lungs, through the low rib. And then you'll bring the chest down towards the thigh. A nice pull and pressure through that low thoracic lumbar fascia. Walking the hands back up, coming through that pigeon. You'll take the right leg, reach it up for 3-legged dog. And bring the right heel towards the left sit bone, open up through the hip. If you'd like to take it up and over for a wild thing, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, think about that kneecap lifting up to the sky, extending out through that psoas muscle that helps stretch the diaphragm long, long, long. And then high plank. Downward facing dog. Observe any difference.